Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Going into
Hello.
our second hour of this week's episode of Apocalypse World. Let's
Yay.
get caught up with our friend Tynant. So, Tynant, you've cut off the water supply
Sure
to
did.
Templetown, as is your right to do so, I suppose, to embargo them. But in the process, some very bad things happened, and your guardian was poisoned, and things got a bit out of control.
Thanks, Dice.
Yeah.
Not my
Now,
fault. I deny all responsibility for
the
such
last thing we saw before Babylon got horribly ill was that he took a drink offered to him by Bill,
By Bill, right?
which
and that's
was
the other thing,
meant
is
for
that
you, right? Remember, he went to offer you the glass, and you were like, eh, and he gave it to Babylon. Babylon drank it and died.
Yep.
And then you tried to leave.
And I was like, oh, it's going to be like that, is it?
You tried to leave, and then yes, and then you ended up snapped up by Bill's little paramilitaries. So I feel like you have been in Bill's, I don't know, holding facility. Like he doesn't have like a prison. He's not a like, you know, a king with a castle with a dungeon in it, but he definitely has like a place where he keeps you, and it's likely just a room in a basement. Remember, his whole facility is like a former like automotive center. Yeah. And so in the basement somewhere where, like, you know, stock would have been kept, or there's rooms down there, and you've been locked in one of them for, I mean, several for a day, at least a day and a bit. And yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone has like come down to talk to you or anything for a while. What have you been doing to pass the time?
I mean, thinking, just like contemplating shit.
Yep, that makes sense.
So I'm trying to like piece together what I should do. Because like everything is about to go completely to shit. And Tynant is aware of this. Because like this play would have only worked if I was able to like keep the temple together while it was all happening, but I know that that's not going to be a thing, so I'm really worried about what's going to go down with that. So yeah, I'm definitely just like meditating on it more or less, because there's nothing to do in this room that I'm locked in.
It's true. Yeah, it's like a cement room that had a carpet at one point, but the carpet got all like waterlogged from a leak and got tore up, but not tore up well. So there's like bits of like soggy carpet in the corners and the edges of the walls. The walls too, like, probably had posters on them at some point. Maybe there's like an old rusted set of lockers, like it's an old staff room or something that you've been put in. And actually, there's a like a Coke machine with the front broken in, so it's got all of its kind of like weird machinery on the inside, and you probably have no idea what it was originally for. But there's this
weird
big machine
box.
Yeah, this big dead box in the corner. And so you've been locked in here for a while. Yeah, what are you, let's I mean, is your meditation opening your brain to the maelstrom, or is it just like trying to stay calm and like relaxing yourself and like trying not to get too worked up? What does that
Mostly
look like?
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said there's a leak. Is it like there's like some length of pipe that comes into the room that's broken and there's like a drip or something?
I think there's a broken pipe behind the wall somewhere, and there's a crack in the wall that is like seeping down into the corner, and there's like a puddle of bad water in the corner.
Because yeah, if there's any kind of water sound or anything like that, I would say in the course of that, I would definitely have opened my brain.
Yeah,
But
focus on
otherwise,
the regular dripping of the bad water from the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
Let's have you make a roll.
Whoop. I get a 7.
Okay. And you're meditating on the situation at the temple, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that we see in your mind's eye an underground, like a cistern, like a big, like maybe the source somewhere that the well draws from. And it has, it's like a cave underground with like rock and everything. And so it's this sort of slick, dark, lots of like blue and gray. And the water is like perfectly still and like reflective. And under the surface, the reflective surface of the water, we can kind of see vague images of like the ghosts of the well. What do they look like to you in your mind? Are they like bones, or is it like the faces of people? Is it some other thing like shapes of lights?
I feel like, yeah, they're probably more like will-o-wisp kind of things, of like these little like globes of light that kind of, or maybe even like fish, like
Hmm.
glowing fish or something.
Yeah, I like that.
And so they kind of will like, you know what it is it's like the koi pond thing where you see them like kind of, they come up out of the darker parts of the water and come close to the surface and like do whatever it is that they're doing, and then they dip back down. So there's lots of like waxing and waning of these.
Like you see fish, but the water's still completely still.
Yeah,
Well, of
They're like
course.
moving under this glassy surface. And I think that we see a dark sort of shape fall into the water and like break the surface, which like ripples out, and there's a splash, and all of these sort of fishy shapes like swim to it, and as we get closer to it, as it becomes more resolute in our vision, we can see the fish kind of like as fish do when you throw food on the surface of the one, they're like
Yeah,
nipping
they're
at
like
it.
nibbling at it.
Yeah. And we see that it is it's Deerfield's body. And he's all like bloated and drowned, and he's been like dumped into this place. And as the fish kind of like peck at him, his blood is sort of seeping out into the water and turning it this like rust color. And yeah, and I think that's the vision that you have.
Great.
Yeah. And maybe you're interrupted from it. Maybe there's more that it has to show you, but you hear a like a key ring like jingling outside, and then the sound of like a lock being opened.
Cool. Yeah, because like the main thing is I'm waiting for someone to show up, so this is good.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Cullen, and she's not alone. She's got another guard with her. She doesn't have her gun out. She's got a gun holstered on her hip, but her friend has a rifle that he's holding.
Yeah.
And so she's unlocked the door and opened it, and she's like, "Bill wants to talk to you."
Good. It's getting dull in here. And I like stand up and kind of like dust my pants off, and yeah, I'll come along.
Okay. So as you're walking towards the stairs that lead up to one of the other rooms, she says to you, "You're gonna want to be real careful about how you approach this situation. Bill is not in a good mood."
I like don't look at her for a minute, and then I just turn and say, what do I say? I don't believe I care what you have to say about this or his mood.
She shrugs, like, "Your funeral." And you reach the door to the room that you were being led to. Now you're actually still on one of the like sub levels. You haven't gone up. You're not going to his office. She's taking you somewhere else. And I think from here you can hear the hum of a generator. You can smell like the like diesel smell in the air, and there's probably like an occasional like a kind of like a beeping sound from the room. And as you open the door, you come out into a room, and there's a bunch of, and all this stuff is like scavenged from like outdoor like camping equipment. So there's like a fold out table that's got a plastic sheet over it, like a blue like tarp put over it, and then on top of it there's a like a sleeping bag and then a person lying on top of the sleeping bag. And that person is hooked up to some like scavenged hospital equipment. So they've got like a breathing mask on, and they've got like an IV that leads over to a like a drip. And then they've got a couple of like electrodes like stuck to them. And there's a generator that's powering a bunch of like construction lights, those bright like, and they're all facing down in on this person.
Oh, good.
And you recognize Bill's kid, Princey, under the plastic mask. And sitting next to him in a like fold out camping chair, wearing a ratty looking like suit, basically. And he looks like he hasn't like bathed or slept in a as long as you have. He looks pretty shitty.
Yeah.
You see Bill, and when the door opens, Bill like stands up and he turns, and he scowls at you, but doesn't say anything right away. And I think that's when you notice the third person in the room. There's a guy who's wearing like kind of in like non-distinct clothes. He's got like a denim jacket with a patch on the back, like a big black patch. It's got like a skull on it or something, and he's wearing kind of ratty jeans and cowboy boots. And this guy, he just kind of like was there, like he was standing in your field of view the whole time, but was standing so perfectly still you didn't notice him. He's really pale. He's got kind of like stringy like black hair. He looks kind of like damp. And he's got his hair like it looks like it was in a ponytail at one point, but has kind of like come loose. So there's like bits hanging in his face. And he's actually just he picks up a bag off the floor, and he looks at Bill, and Bill's like, "Thanks, Buzz. That'll be all." And Buzz steps over to him and like takes his hand in both hands, like kind of like clasps it, and looks him in the eye. And he's like, "If y'all need anything else, anything at all I can do for your boy, you know where to find me, Bill." And Bill just nods, and Buzz walks towards you, and you're big, so you're blocking the door. Do you step out of the way, or what do you do?
Yeah, I think I'm talking to Cullen. I've got my pithy rejoinder where I'm just like, because they were like, your funeral. And I was like, my funeral will be well attended. I can't imagine who will cry for you. And then I like, yeah, turn, and this guy is like right here. And I'm just like, oh, hello, Buzz. Good to see you. And I like leave space for him as a way of excusing myself from my interaction with Cullen and walk towards Bill.
Yeah, so Buzz, as he walks out, he's got this like straw like cowboy hat that he puts on his head, and it's got a little plastic like sheriff star on the front. And he kind of gives you a nod. He's like, Tynan, and walks past you, and you can hear his cowboy boots clicking on the floor as he walks away. And Bill like just eyeballs you. He gives you this like kind of dead stare as Cullen and the other guard. Let's name this guard because they're going to be around for this scene in case you need to know who they are. Let's name them. Their name is JD. Cullen and JD. So JD's another guard. Okay. So yeah, JD and Cullen step in behind you, and they kind of like close the door and stand there threateningly. Yeah, and Bill just like gives you this look, like he's waiting for you to explain something.
What is it, Bill?
He looks over at Princey and then back at you, and he's like, "The fuck do you do to my boy?"
I just like cork an eyebrow. I haven't done anything to Princey.
He shakes his head. He's like, "Now is not the time for bullshit, Tynant."
What did you do to Babylon? And what were you trying to do to me?
He squints at you. He's like, "I didn't do shit to your man. I mean, aside from dispose of the body. I don't know what you're playing at here."
We find ourselves in a similar position then. You didn't kill Babylon. I didn't kill your boy. One of us is sworn to tell the truth. I know who I trust.
And he shakes his head, and he's like, "Seems to me the best way to lie to people is go around promising how you're not allowed to lie. Seems like horseshit to me. What'd you do to my boy, Tynant?
Bill, you're obviously under a great deal of stress.
It's like
You're not behaving rationally.
It's like, you're damn right I'm stressed. Buzz says he might not make it. Now listen, you want
We'll
to
all go to the water eventually.
cut the town off. I get that. You're flexing your muscle, and that's fine. We can make a deal about that. And he looks at Princey. He's like, you try to kill my son? Oh, no. There's no deal made. Nah, not if... And he walks over, and he's not even looking at you now. Like, he turns back to you, and he's like holding Princey's hand, and he's just like, my goddamn kid.
If I wanted to kill him, I would have done it directly. Everyone would have known it was me.
Yeah. And he turns back around to you, and he's like, say I believe you. Then who? Who the fuck would have done this? I've made deals. Everyone who's anyone in Templetown, they belong to me.
Don't kid yourself, Bill, that you're above all of this. We're all down here in the mud together.
Ha ha. Funny for you to say. You and your goddamn temple on the mountain. Fucking raining over us.
We carved that out with as much hard work as you've spent here, and my people still die year on year, same as yours. Same as you will. As many walls as you put up, you can't get away from it, Bill.
And he shakes his head, and he's like,
I know you want better for your family. It is sad to see a child die, but this is the world we live in. You still live in it.
And yeah, I think he looks at you like he's just staring at you, and he's just like, he doesn't like all the philosophical stuff. Like, he's hearing it, but all he cares about is like, who did this? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, he assumed it was you and figured you would just be like, yeah, I killed your kid, now what? But like, you're not, and that's like kind of throwing him off, I think. Yeah. So he stares at you, and he says. He says, you know who did this?
No. Could have been anyone. It could have just happened.
He shakes his head.
Things just happen sometimes, Bill.
That's not what Buzz says. Says he was poisoned. This is on purpose.
Well, then that is very sad.
And he's like, you're not reacting at all the way he expects or wants, right? Like, he wants you to get mad or like something, but you're just kind of like, I don't really care about anything.
And I'm de-escalate. I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm de-escalating the motherfucker.
Totally. Yeah.
So yeah, because I just want him to like be reasonable and to like talk to me and stop losing his shit. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you want to manipulate him into like having this conversation with you instead of like, if you want to help him get past all of that stuff, I think you will have to roll. You'll have to roll to manipulate him. And it sounds like the like, what are you offering here? Are you like if you're even like, maybe I can help or like something, then maybe he'll like, that'll be enough incentive to make the roll. But for right now, you're just kind of like,
I mean, okay, so here's my question to you is like, would Bill have anyone to talk to about this or his feelings or any of that shit?
I mean, you don't know Bill that well. You could try to read him first.
I mean, like, this is just like me putting to you.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's not like he
player
has
level, like, is that something that would work on him? Where it's just like he would get to like talk about his feelings and his problems and like,
not in front of Cullen and JD. No, that would make him look like a wuss, and it would get around that, like, yeah. But if you could get him alone, sure.
Maybe he sends them off or something. Yeah. Well, anyways, yeah. So I think then what I will offer, is to say like, Bill, is a very hard time, and I understand that you're very angry. If you want to solve the problems that we can solve together, move past them so that you can focus on this, I'm willing to talk. And I understand that these are exceptional circumstances.
Yeah, go ahead and roll.
Your mind and let you deal with your son, for whom I hold no ill will and would love to see recover, then yes, let's talk. So is that a fair shake?
Yeah, I think so.
So what I'm really asking for is like, yo, let's talk alone about this thing. Let's fix this problem.
Yeah, sure. Woo! Look at you go.
Shit works. Talking to people about their problems works.
sometimes. So yeah, he's really confused, right? Because like bad things are happening, and he has no, like, he's got you imprisoned, but and that's not going to change. But yeah, he doesn't know. Like, he was just gonna handle things the way he normally did, but then his kid got sick, so it's like now it's all complicated. But yeah, on a 10 plus, he'll go along with you until some fact or action betrays the reason that you gave him. So until you act suspiciously or like in a way that seems like you're acting in your own self-interest and not in like the interest of like helping him out. But for now, as long as he thinks that you're doing this for him, he's willing to talk.
Yeah, and I mean, I am bummed out that Princey is sick. And Princey was the one that was hanging out with Ferris, right?
Yes, Princey is Ferris's apprentice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I like go and like sit down because like he's on like a picnic bench thing, right? Or like a table with
Yes,
seats.
yeah, he's laying on a, yeah, exactly.
So I like sit on one side of that and like look, sadly at Princey. And I approach really slowly, and so it's clear that I'm not like gonna go fucking smother his kid or some shit.
Sure.
So yeah, I just like sit down and like look sadly at Princey, and like pat his shoulder or something. Like Princey's.
Yeah.
That is.
I figured. Yeah.
And just say like, I don't know who would have done this, but everything seems to be getting a bit out of hand here in the town. What I wanted, and the reason I came to you with these demands, was to calm things down, to change the face of things from a world where people were exploiting each other and doing violence on each other to one where we might actually cooperate. Maybe I'm taking the wrong approach. Maybe talking with you is the best way to get there, Bill.
He looks at you and says, cutting off the water is only going to cause more chaos, Tynan. I don't know what you want, but we need to drink. I've got supplies for my people, and Rolf Ball had some for his. But everybody else, they're just going to suffer. You're not hurting me. You're not hurting mine. That's got to be the first thing that we change. People got to drink.
Whatever it was that Rolf Ball was trying to operate here was a sickness on this place. A profitable one, perhaps, but one which I cannot abide. What that does to people, the way it twists them.
He shakes his head. He's like, that's the thing you don't understand, Tynan. You and your people up there on the mountain, you got religion, sure. But down here, what Rolf Ball's offering, it's a revelation of another kind. People need that shit. Not everybody likes being told what to do. Sometimes they just want to spend their brass on something that's going to turn them off for a little while. And who are we to tell the people what they are and aren't allowed to have? Rolf Ball makes a product. People want it. If they didn't want it, they wouldn't buy it. Same as what you do.
Fucking capitalist son of a bitch. The only one telling people what to do, not Rolf, Bill, is you.
And he shrugs. He's like, people need that shit too. People need to be told what's what. Otherwise, they just turn on themselves. This place
We've
can
been doing
tear itself
just
apart
fine
without me.
Temple. Just fine. And we don't have any kings or vices there.
He shakes his head. Nah, that's just how you think it is. Me? I wear my crown out in the open. You try to hide yours. Everybody knows who's in charge up there.
The dead are in charge. They seem to know better. Look, if you're not interested in negotiating, if you just want things to go back to the way they were, well, that's delightful for you, but it's not going to happen. I'm here offering you what can happen. The way forward is that you lean on Rothball's people, and you get the violence and the exploitation to stop. Then we have a space in which our mutual benefit can resume. Or you can just let me rot here and die. Die yourself days later, and the temple will stand. I'll join the dead, and then I will be in charge. Not such a bad result for me.
He looks at you and yeah, I think he's like watching you speak, and it's clear that he's understanding the words you're saying, but not like there's something that's not making sense to him about this. And he says, if the dead are so great, why haven't you and your followers just joined them already?
All in due time.
Yeah, well, due time's fucking coming up soon.
I look down at his son who's dying on the table. Like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
So we're alone now, right?
Yeah, like in so much as like the guards are they're outside, but they haven't left. Like if you make any noise at all.
So with my most recent advance, I took a move, Adam.
Yeah.
Can you guess which one it is?
What move
I
could
took
it
hypnotic.
possibly be?
So when I have time and solitude with someone, they become fixated upon me. Roll plus hot. So I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And this is totally great because it's this like mystifying, like weird religious
fogging
bullshit.
his brain. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get an 8.
Okay.
Which is perfectly fine. So I hold 2.
Yeah.
They can spend my hold 1 for 1 by giving me something I want, acting as my eyes and ears, fighting to protect me, doing something I tell them to.
Okay. Let me make a note.
And while I have hold over him, he can't act against me.
Okay.
Nice. Well, that solves that problem.
So here's what he says.
Trades it for another problem, really.
I mean, yeah. So he says to you, he's like, look, Tynan, war ain't profitable. We're not gonna make brass fighting each other. And maybe before, when Rolf Ball was still alive, I could have put some pressure on. But not now. Not now. Shit's gone feral over there. And I think that's when we cut to things having gone feral.
I'm about to put some pressure on, but
well, yeah. So Brace is returned to her home, her temporary home, and yeah. So Junior is sick. Trench is working the manufactory, and this is again like it's a big apartment block, and there's just like. This is the most apocalyptic part of Templetown, right? Like garbage fires and dogs fighting in the yard and just people like in various states of fucked upness around. And Brace, you're walking through this chaos. No one really pays much attention to you. They know you belong to the gang. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Brace feels like, and I think correctly, that Scab's like gonna cut her off or try to. And
I mean, you jumped to that conclusion very, very quickly. The threat was there, and then you leaving solidified it, right?
okay, but
It was very much a "you can't fire me, I quit" situation.
okay, but that's what Scab threatened to do, right? Like, you can't go back.
Yeah, Scab was like, I'm gonna cut you off. If you apologize, Scab would probably be like, all right, water under the bridge. But for now, yeah, I mean, word hasn't gotten back yet because Scab, you just left right away.
Okay, well, I want to go find the other, because it's been made clear that the people vying for power were Scab, Junior, and Trench.
Yeah, those were Rolf Ball's 3 closest lieutenants.
And Junior invited Brace here and then kind of got sick, so it's not looking like Junior. And then Scab is kind of holding shit over Brace's head and not putting her in a position that she likes to be in, so she's going to seek out Trench and be like, hey, like, maybe we can make a better deal and see if there's an option there. So she would look for Trench if she knows where to find him. Or...
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got to go to the manufactory to get Trench.
So that's where she would go.
Okay, all right. So you pass through the lobby of the building and down a flight of concrete stairs, and the smell, like the chemical smell, is like immediate as soon as you open the door to go into the stairway. And you come down into what used to be like several levels of parking garage underneath the building that have been like refitted to be one big open space. And there's just like rows of tables. There's these big vats of chemicals that are being stirred by machinery. And there are people who are... some of them, the lucky ones, have like gas masks or like painters like masks. Most of them don't. Some of them have gloves. Most of them don't. And they're either like, you know, cutting the piles of this like grayish powder, or they're stirring the vat, or they're like doing a bunch of different stuff, adding things to the various process. There's probably like 24 people down here, and you look around, and I think you can see Trench overseeing some part of the process. He is wearing the coat for which he was named. He has this long, like olive-colored, kind of like slightly rubberized, like trench coat that he wears. And he's got a big, like industrial grade, like gas mask on, and he's talking to somebody down in the production line. And you don't see any, like, he doesn't have any skin exposed. He's got a big like hood that he's got pulled up and tightened around the mask, and he wears these big like leather gloves. And sometimes he takes them off when he's not down here, but he's been down here like all day, every day for most of the last few weeks.
I guess Brace would like probably just wander into it. I don't think that she would be cognizant of any kind of chemical bullshit in the air or anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you just like walk over to Trench.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Everyone down here is like kind of fucked up all the time just from fumes. And no one really notices you. They're it's like zombified, basically just doing their job in repetition. And you walk over and Brace Trench has just finished talking and turns around and he's like, "Oh, Brace, hello."
And she looks at him, and she looks like at everyone around, and she's like, "We haven't met."
He shakes his head. No, of course not, but I know of you. You're a little underdressed for the environment down here. Not worried about getting sick?
And she like blinks her eyes like, what? People actually like plan for that? And she looks around and she's like, this is where you make this stuff? The new stuff?
Yeah, he nods. Yes. Beautiful, isn't it?
I like it. And then she turns around and like looks like she's gonna like go and like just like, I don't know, mess with something.
Yeah,
probably.
he steps in the way, and not like aggressively, but like he's like, "Oh, hold on there. Unfinished, that batch. Dangerous."
Do you know Scab?
Yes, of course.
Do you know what Scab wants?
Well, that's a complicated question. What does anyone want, Brace?
Brace wants. Brace doesn't want things taken from her. Scab wants to take things from her. Brace wants to help you.
So you say all of that in the third person.
Yeah, she's fucking weird.
Yeah, that's fine.
Brace is just getting fucking weirder and weirder as time goes on. It's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, Trench says, I don't think I understand, Brace. Why have you come down here?
I said Scab wants to take things from me.
Well, whatever do you mean? What does Scab have that belongs to you?
And she's just like, she's trying to get to a point, but she doesn't know how to get to the point. Like she's being like, Scab wants to cut me off, you know? And like, cause that's like what the threat in her head, right? So she like looks around and she like gestures to it. And she's like, Scab wants this. Scab wants to take this from me. Like as though she owns it or something, you know?
Trench nods, and he says, well, not to worry, little one. We've got all the bounty in the world. And he like gestures widely, like proudly at all the drugs that they've made. And he says, just stay loyal to the organization, and I'm sure Scab will keep you fed.
He's all covered up.
Yes, he definitely is. Like you can't even see his eyes. Like the lenses are like mirrored on his gas mask.
I wouldn't be able to. Would I be able to like read him?
You could try, yeah, sure.
I could try. Okay. Then I'm gonna try to read him, I suppose.
Okay.
Oh, I'm supposed to roll plus weird instead of roll plus sharp. I didn't do that last time. Oops.
Ah, look at you. Look at you with your massive rolls. Congratulations. Good work.
So I guess I want to know, like, I want Trench to. How could I get Trench to kind of like step outside of his little like hidey hole and like I want to be in the situation where I want him to just be like, hey, I can actually do something for you instead of just like, I'm just going to be down here with my drugs and this is what I do. Like, I guess how could I get Trench to like protect me from Scab cutting me off?
He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about you or being cut
Like,
off or any of that shit.
There's nothing.
I mean, not that. Like you're a trumped up junkie. Yeah, he's like, cool. You've got psychic powers and stuff, and I get that like Scab is using you for that. Keep doing your job, and you'll get paid like everybody else. The only thing Trench really cares about is the power given to him by the supply, right? That he's in charge of making the drugs, and that affords him power in the organization. Scab and Junior couldn't do the job he does. Yeah.
I guess like I look around and I'm feeling kind of like Brace is feeling kind of like this isn't going how I wanted it to go. Like, and I don't have like power in this whole situation. She feels kind of helpless. And I guess like would she see that there's like because you I think you said like in previous that like this making the drug uses a lot of water.
Yeah, there's huge water tanks here. Most of their supply goes to the manufactory. Totally.
Like I don't know, would she be able to put together like water's been cut off for one reason or another that she doesn't understand? Like you need a lot of water. Like would those two things be like open information? Obviously everyone knows that water's been cut off.
I mean, I think you're close enough to the operation to know that they need water for different reasons than just drinking it. But it's up to you what you want to do with that information.
Yeah, I just wondered if those two things are open information that she could potentially connect. I just don't know. I guess she looks around again and she looks up as if she's just thinking about the stuff that's been going on in the town, and she makes the connection in a weird moment of, I don't know, clarity, I guess. And she just says out loud, "You need a lot of water."
He nods. Yes. It's very important to the process.
The temple stopped giving us water.
Yes, that is a shame. We do have a good supply, but we'll run out eventually. I'm sure Scab has a plan for that.
So his, I guess, what does his character intend to do about the water, the situation? He's not going to do, he's going to leave it to Scab.
Yeah, I think if Scab doesn't deal with it soon, he'll have to do something about that. But yeah, they're definitely going to run out. And he's concerned about that for sure.
And I guess the last thing would be what's his character really feeling about it? He's concerned, you said.
Yeah, he's feeling nervous that he might have to take a more active position in the organization. He might, if Scab doesn't take this seriously, and if Junior doesn't get better, someone is gonna have to be all right, everybody, we're going to the temple to get that water. And he doesn't want it to be him, but he's willing to because he cares about keeping the supply going.
Okay, so Brace looks at him and looks around and thinks about it for a second, and she's like, "I've been to the temple. I know people in the temple. I could help you."
Is that so? How? How could you help me, Brace?
You need water.
And you could convince them to undo the embargo?
I have ways. I could try.
I don't doubt that you do. Well, why don't you do that? Use your ways. Get us our water back.
Scab. And she pauses for a second and she looks at him Scab has told me I have no place here. So why would I help you?
He shakes his head a little and he's like, "Oh, don't be silly, little one. You've got a place here. Your family." And he puts a big rubbery hand on your shoulder, and gestures look, like all of the other children that serve me. And he says, Junior and Scab are having a little fight. Junior's going to die soon. A shame, but that's how these things go. Maybe Scab should join her.
Funny you might say that.
And then if I could get you what you want, you would get me what I want?
All the bounty of the world, little one. And he just gestures I have all the drugs. You can have as much as you want. Fucking bury yourself in drugs.
And so Brace is just shall I go to the temple then?
Well, I can't tell you what to do, but it seems like a good idea.
And so she's just going to be all right, that's the, she feels the agreement has been come to at least. And so she'll just be okay, this is my thing. And she turns around and she is basically just going to go up there and try and see if she could do anything, probably really shitty. Okay. So she's gonna go to the temple. Okay. All right. And hope that she still has a place here when she comes back. Yeah. And that things haven't completely gone to shit. All right, cool. Well, why don't we rather than press on too much further, let's take a short break here, and then Dice, I see you chomping at the bit. Why don't we see what you're up to?
I have a plan.
Yeah, so I think what I want to
bad. bad plan, but it's a plan.
So it's a dice maneuver. So what I'd like to do, I think, is let's and y'all can let me know if this feels like right to you. Why don't we see what happens with dice, and then we'll cut to the temple so we can give Ferris and Brace a chance to do some temple type stuff, and then go from there. Does that sound good? It's okay. All right, wicked, cool. Let's take a short break, and we will do that when we come back. See you in a few, everybody.